Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, and welcome to
Hello.
Cinephile Sundays. It's the live stream where some book guys pretend to be movie guys for a while, and we have a guest, Hannah. She's been our guest for a couple of episodes now. We're glad to have her back.
I'm
Our
so
returning
glad to be back.
champion, Hannah from Hannah's Books, and of course my co-host Randy Ray from Randy Ray, the Literate Texan.
Hello.
We have some commenters. A stack of my own says hello, still on for tonight. No, we're not doing it. Sorry, I can't help being sarcastic a little bit sometimes. Patricia Fay, I hope so. Watch the movie today. Yeah, good. Patricia may have it fresher in her mind than the rest of the people on screen. But there you go.
Yeah, I watched it week before last. I think I watched it like a day or two after our last episode, which was 3 weeks ago now.
So we'll see.
And I really
we'll see how it goes.
You.
Patricia may have to refresh us on the details. And Patricia H says hello, friends. Hello, Patricia H. Thanks as always for joining us. So today, as everyone knows, our topic is 1993 film Shadowlands. This is a biopic of sorts. I mean, not even of sorts. It's a biopic, meaning it's a biopic. It's a movie that depicts events in the lives of actual people, actual events in the lives of actual people. And the people in question are C.S. Lewis, Clive Staples Lewis, the great English professor, novelist, writer. I don't know what he was a professor of, but I mean, his reputation.
I believe it was medieval studies.
Medieval studies. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I believe it was medieval studies. I read a biography of him recently.
Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of a depiction of a small section of his life when he met, married, and then fell in love with a woman from America named, now I kept calling her Helen Gresham. Her name is Joy
Davidson.
No, not Davidson. It's David.
Joy Gresham.
No. It's not Davidson. It's David.
Is it
Man?
Davidson?
Oh my
Davidson?
God. Hold on a second.
We'll call her Joy.
Gresham.
Yes.
Joy Gresham.
So Gresham was her.
He was married to William Gresham.
She was married.
Who wrote a novel called Nightmare Alley.
Okay.
Are y'all familiar with Nightmare Alley?
That's a well-known novel that I haven't read.
It's a great novel. It's absolutely terrific. And the film version won Best Picture a few years ago. Great movie. The original film version I haven't seen yet, but I've got it bookmarked. It's free on YouTube. But Nightmare Alley's terrific.
Right.
But yeah, William Gresham was her husband's name.
Okay, good.
Not the greatest guy in the world, apparently.
I think that's why she stopped using his name.
Yeah. He was an alcoholic and a violent one, apparently.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I kept thinking it was Davidson, but it's David Mann, which is unusual. Yeah. So Joy Davidman, and Joy Davidman was born in America. Of her parents were, I think, Polish and Ukrainian Jewish immigrants, so she is depicted by the great Debra Winger in this movie, and C.S. Lewis is, I forget his name. He's some hack that you never hear about.
I've never even seen one of his movies before.
I've never seen him in anything.
Never heard of
him. Last week.
Yes, it's Anthony Hopkins, right? We talked about him not last week, but 2 times before we talked about him. And interestingly enough, he was nominated for an Academy Award for his role in this movie. And he was also nominated for the Academy Award in another movie in the same year. This was the same year that Remains of the Day came out. Really? Which, I mean, if we wanted to do an infinite series of romances that aren't really romances,
or maybe of his works.
Right, yes, or an infinite series of Anthony Hopkins, yes, we could. But this is a very unusual story, right? And I haven't seen this before, so my two co-hosts have seen it before, and
I saw it once
yeah.
when it first came out, or when
Yeah.
it first came out on videotape.
Yeah.
Because I had a baby, and
Yeah.
so I wasn't going to movie theaters. And the whole time that we were sitting on the floor with, Abe climbing all over us while we were watching. And so I
Right.
didn't really absorb it in quite the way that I did this time.
Right. So C.S. Lewis, I have not read a lot of C.S. Lewis. Now, Randy has been talking about C.S. Lewis quite a bit in his recent videos. So, Randy, why don't you give us like a thumbnail of who C.S. Lewis is?
Well, C.S. Lewis was born in England, had parents, regular life. But then at 10 years old, his mother was taken away from him by cancer. And at that point, he decided that he was an atheist. If there was a God, he didn't want anything to do with him because he took his mother away from him. And grew up, became an English professor. His brother lived with him. His brother was an alcoholic. Warney was his name.
Yeah.
But he was an alcoholic because of the PTSD experienced in World War I.
Right.
And they lived together as bachelors at a house called the Kilns. They're, near enough to the college that he could teach without a commute. He never learned how to drive. But at the age of 56, I believe he was 56, he met Joy Davidman or Joy Gresham, depending on what you want to call her. And they became friends by writing to each other. They were pen pals initially. And then she came to England to visit with her sons. And so his one son, Douglas, was a big Narnia fan and said that, when he went in to meet C.S. Lewis for the first time, he expected this bold knight in shining armor, because Douglas was 9 or 10 years old at the time. And instead, it was this older professorial man with nicotine-stained teeth and nicotine-stained fingers, balding, and he said he was a huge disappointment at first. He said, but it took just a matter of moments for him to get swept up in C.S. Lewis's personality, because he was big and bold and funny, and at any rate, the relationship between Joy and her husband continued to deteriorate as her friendship with C.S. Lewis grew stronger, and she eventually divorced him. He had taken up with her half-sister. Her half-sister had come to stay with him to help him out while she visited England before. And he fell in love with her while she was gone. And so she granted him the divorce that he wanted and moved to England, got her own place. And C.S. Lewis agreed to marry her so that she could stay in England. But it was just a marriage on paper.
Yeah.
Until she broke her femur one day and went crashing to the ground. And it was similar to my experience when I broke my arm. I say she broke her femur, but her femur just broke. It was, it was weak because of cancer. Same thing with my arm. When my arm broke 3 years ago, I didn't do anything. I just stood up and my arm just broke. I mean, I didn't even use my arm to stand up. And so I'm sure she was just in the kitchen one day and just fell. But at any rate, they found that she had cancer, and they gave her months to live, not years, but months. And at that point, Lewis realized that he actually was in love with her and really did want to marry her for real in front of God and his peers, and proposed to her. And she said yes, and he married her. Yeah. And I only know this from watching interviews with their son, Douglas Gresham. But Douglas was 10 years old, just like C.S. Lewis was when he lost his mom. Yeah. And he was, they were staying at C.S. Lewis's house, and Douglas had just been advised by C.S. Lewis that his mother was dying of cancer. And he had to find his way back to C.S. Lewis's house through London by himself. And he said, if you want to feel alone, be 10 years old, just find out that your mother's dead, and then have to wander through London trying to find your way to this strange man's house. Wow. And he says that he walked by a graveyard next to a church, and suddenly everything just kind of lit up. He said it felt like the sequence in The Wizard of Oz where you go from black and white to color. He said he could see every detail of every leaf and every tree. He said he felt this enormous presence, and he heard a voice in his head that said, if there's someone you think you can't live without, I can fix that for you. You just have to ask. In those days, they didn't lock church doors at night. So he went into the church, got down on his knees, and prayed as hard as he could for God not to take his mother away because he couldn't live without her. And then a couple of days later, the doctors announced that she was in remission and that she had weeks, maybe months, to be in remission, and that they should enjoy it as long as it lasted. She actually lived for 4 more years after that. I think it was 3 years and some odd months. Yeah. But he said those were the best years of his life, the best years of C.S. Lewis's life, and the best years of her life. And then at 14, she came down with cancer again. It came back. Mm-hmm. And he realized that even though he didn't want to, he could live without his mother, and he was able to let her go. And then C.S. Lewis died 3 or 4 years later after raising him. Right. But he also tells the story of while he was visiting C.S. Lewis in the hospital, mm-hmm. he had just come downstairs and was going home for the evening. C.S. Lewis was in a coma, and he saw Tolly on the sidewalk. Tolly was what they called J.R. Tolkien, and Tolkien and Lewis were best friends. But he didn't know him very well. He had met him once or twice before, and he said, Tollers took me aside and said, listen, if something was to happen to Jack and you need a place to stay, you have a room in my house. You can come live with me.
It's amazing.
And he said it was just an amazing tribute to what a friendship they must have had for him to offer to take in this 18-year-old stranger. But I think the big story in Lewis's life was that, he did, before he married Joy, he did rediscover his Christianity and become a Christian again. So he was a big broadcaster and Christian apologist. He didn't just write fantasy novels. He also wrote works like Mere Christianity and A Grief Observed, which he didn't publish under his own name at first. But yeah, he wrote a lot.
And that's where you're getting Helen from, I think, is that he calls her Helen.
I think he calls her Helen or H. Yes.
H for Helen. Yeah, right.
So her first name was Helen, but she went by Joy. As his name was Clive Staples, but he didn't like those names. So he gave himself the nickname Jack. And so everyone calls the nickname
Jack because there was a dog in the neighborhood named Jaxie. And he came in one day as a little boy. I think he was 4 years old. He came in and announced to everyone in the family, from now on, I want to be called Jack. And he wouldn't respond to anything else.
Yep.
So that goes way beyond what was in the movie.
Yes.
But I'd like to say I've been watching the interviews with Douglas Gresham, and I've been reading his biography, and to me, C.S. Lewis is one of those role models of a reader. Right. I read a book a couple of years ago about reading and it was a collection. Someone had edited together multiple things that C.S. Lewis had said about reading and put it together into a book. And one of the passages was from a letter that he had written about a book that he was going to read. And he said he really liked to take a book like that and turn it into a hobby. Mm-hmm. And so he would draw a map on the front page of the book of the location that everything took place in. And he would also draw family trees. Mm-hmm. Those were a big deal to him. Yeah. And he would write a headline at the top of every page so that, he could just flip through the book and figure out where he was very easily if he came back to it. Then when he finished the book, on the last page, he would put the date and his name and then a note. And sometimes often the note would be never again, which I just thought was, really clever and stuff. So apparently he was a big fan of a writer named George MacDonald, who was a fantasist too.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So I haven't read a lot of George MacDonald yet, but I have read some of his fairy tales, and he's great.
So you've read quite a bit of C.S. Lewis then, Randy.
I've read the Chronicles of Narnia at least twice, but it's been years and years since I've read them. And I've read Mere Christianity once or twice and A Grief Observed a couple of times. So there's quite a bit of C.S. Lewis that I haven't read yet.
Yes.
There's one other that I read too, and I can't remember the name of it. It was one of his other novels, but it was a parable about going to heaven, and I'm not sure I really understood it. But yeah, I haven't read his space trilogy yet. He wrote a space trilogy. And I'm a big fan of the Swords and Planet genre anyway. Right. And I've always wanted to read the space trilogy. I was introduced to C.S. Lewis by my 8th grade art teacher. She was also a huge fan of J.R. Tolkien. She was from England and had an English accent. And growing up in Bonham, Texas, I thought she was the most fascinating and well-educated woman in the world.
Yeah, I imagine.
She, for my birthday one year, she drew a bookmark for me, and I would kill to actually still have it. But it was me behind a stack of books, okay, and it had my crazy eyebrows and my crazy mustache, because I looked like Magnum PI in those days. I was an 8th grader, and then I'm holding this stack of books, and she had written clever little titles on the names of the book, all that related to me. And it was really just the sweetest present I've ever received. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and well, it's on my mind a little bit now too, because tomorrow's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thank you. Birthday, and I will be turning 56, just as C.S. Lewis was when he met Joy Gresham. So maybe true love is in my future.
Yes,
I have my doubts.
Right. Well,
I have my doubts. I don't know. She was a good 17 years younger than he was, which, that's not unusual for me to date a woman that's 15 years younger than I am. But putting up with me for the rest of their lives or mine is a whole nother ball game.
Jack wasn't expecting it either, Randy. So who knows?
Jack was what?
Jack wasn't expecting it either. So who knows?
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
And Hannah, what's your history with C.S. Lewis or Joy Davidman, for that matter?
Oh, I don't know anything about Joy Davidman. And I meant to look up her poetry, but I didn't. I got introduced to C.S. Lewis by my brother, who is almost 8 years younger than I am. And he, as a little boy, just adored the Narnia series. And he made me read Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe, which I just didn't like. Partly because I was the wrong age and target audience and all fate issues. And partly because I'm not a fantasy reader either. So, I was nice to him because he loved them, but I didn't read any more C.S. Lewis. And then I saw this film, and then after David died, I read A Grief Observed. And I think that's about all I had read. Oh, no, when my son was little, he discovered the Narnia series at the library.
Right.
And so he would check them out. And I read Magician's Nephew to him. Or maybe he read it and then he made me read it. At that point, he was reading on his own, but we were reading a lot of things aloud to each other as well. And he made me read it, and I really enjoyed Magician's Nephew so much.
A good book, yeah.
And I was kind of surprised and thought I was just not being nice or thoughtful when I read before. And then so we started reading, and I felt like it was my parental duty to, participate in this because he loved them in a way that I didn't feel about my brother. But I didn't like the rest of them. So Magician's Nephew has a special place in my heart. But I have not read any of his Christian apologetics. And I don't think I've read any Christian apologetics, actually.
Well, I suppose that A Grief Observed probably counts as Christian.
Yeah.
But it's so short and personal that I mean,
right.
And that's the only C.S. Lewis that I've read. And I read it because we were talking about this movie, which I think they say it's based in part on that book, though not really. I mean, that's not a book that's really a narrative so much as a personal. But I mean, the story of this book is that he says in it, I just found these exercise books that my son his stepson isn't using, and he's just writing down his thoughts, and then he published it under a pen name, and you're reading it, it's like, I couldn't write anything aside from I'm not not a believer like he was, but I couldn't write anything as good as this. This
Right.
like tossed off journalistic exercise that he didn't want to put his name on. It's incredible. It's like he's such a beautiful writer that it really comes across. And I mean, it's very difficult subject matter, and but I mean, it helps that it's short, you know. But boy, you know, the thing that he says about, you know, when you're feeling like things are going well in your, I'm going to put this really bad, I mean, really badly paraphrase, when things are going really well in your life, it seems that God is like right there for you. But when things are bad and you're feeling grief, it's like you knock on the door and it's just slammed shut. And he's like, he's getting nothing from his faith. It's incredible, right? And I don't remember quite how he brings it all around, but you know, there's a lot of like just kind of fascinating kind of ways that this guy who is so brilliant, but thinks about things in a way that's very different from me. It is it's
I
amazing
found
to see him work it out. Go ahead, Hannah.
I found it so fascinating to see how my very uneducated sort of assumption was that people who were religious found God to be a comfort in moments of such incredible grief, and in fact that was perhaps why a lot of people turned to God. It's in those moments of thinking this is, you know, whether it's the promise of seeing the loved one in the future, or if it's just, well, God is there for me. And I found it really interesting in Lewis how much he talks about how hard that made grief in certain ways, of why would God do this? And I had not, you know, as a person who grew up outside of that world, I had never thought of the ways that it could actually create new challenges, and new things that were hard to grapple with. Of what does suffering mean? And I'm sure that's a standard comment for
sure. Right. And one that I think he deals with in a lot of other works, like I think he has a book called The Meaning of Pain, or The Problem of Pain, which I think directly addresses that as well. So it does make me I mean, not this movie, but reading what I have of him makes me want to read a bit more. We have a lot of comments, so let's catch up with those, shall we? Libra says, "Evening, James. Didn't warn me this was a woke remake of Urban Cowboy, right?" So it does, Miguel. It does have cows in it, and it has Morris. It has Morris Minors, which are the British equivalent of a mechanical bull.
And incidentally, my husband and kid were Morris dancers, so that was a special moment.
Yes, that's right. Yes, there's Morris dancing in this. Yeah, that's right. Let's see. I actually watched the first 2/3 of the show in black and white, and then later watched the last third in color. No real reason, just happened, but somewhat appropriate. I guess so. Sort of the Wizard of Oz effect. Patricia Fay says, "I am only 2 books into the Narnia series and started a couple of years ago. I'm in my 60s, late to the party." Well, I'm probably late and maybe never quite getting I will never get to that particular party at this point.
Neverland.
Right. Yes. A stack of my own says, "Randy and I were joking on Voxer about how Debra Winger seemed to give up on her own accent at times. Even in the first scene, she started heavy with, 'Hey, I'm walking here.'" Did she actually say, "Hey, I'm walking here"? I don't think she does, but she does a very, let's just say, northeastern accent.
It sure is reminiscent of that scene.
Yes.
I'm walking here.
It's a good attempt, Randy. I come from I'm walking here territory, so you know.
Everything I say comes out Southern fried, I'm afraid.
I read a couple of short stories on my channel, or I did it very, very early on because I have a Southern accent. But in fact, when I'm reading aloud to my kid, or to back in the day to my husband or whatever, that everything would come out Southern. Anytime anyone had any accent, whether
Yeah.
it was, Japanese or Indian or British or whatever, it was all Southern. So.
That's good. Well, just different parts of England, right? Stack of My Own says, or Goodwill Hunting, my boy Lewis, he's wicked smart. Okay, wicked smart. Okay. That's me attempting to do Boston. And as a New Yorker, if I attempt to do Boston, I'm gonna do it badly. And the Bostonians will be like, that's not how we talk up here. Or, that's not. See, I'm gonna sound like New York. Okay.
Yep.
Maureen Thorne says, moms do read books that their children recommend as being a good mom. Well, maybe. Yep. My mom told me once that she'd been watching some of my videos and she decided to read The Magic Mountain. And she's like, it's really good. She's like, it's very dry, isn't it? I'm like, well, it's not for everyone. Don't feel like you got to continue with The Magic Mountain.
Maybe you should do a specific video for her, coming up with a list of books that you're recommending for her.
Maybe I should. Type. Yes, yeah. Maybe I will. Maybe I will do. That's a very good idea. Stack of My Own says, so Libra's talking to a Stack of My Own. Finding Forrester is a good. I don't know about that.
I don't know that. Is it a film or a book?
That's a film that has what's his name? The Scottish guy who played James Bond.
Daniel Craig.
No, the other Scottish guy who played James
Timothy
Bond.
Dalton.
The other Scottish guy who played James
Pierce Brosnan. Sean Connery.
Yes, Sean Connery.
I don't think any of the other ones were actually Scottish, were they?
Yeah.
Oops.
It's all right.
So I will.
Did y'all ever see the interview that Barbara Walters did with Sean Connery?
Companion.
I think he might. I suspect Miguel may be pulling Stack of My Own's leg, but maybe Libro has interesting taste in movies. Let's see. I'm walking here the classic Midnight Cowboy line. Yes, of course. And Stack of My Own says, I was touched by actually how the uncle was so fatherly to David. Yes. While Lewis was busy with her, he made sure he wasn't neglected, at least in the film. Right. So Warney, the also
wonderful
bachelor,
character.
Really great in this movie. He is the brother of C.S. Lewis, who they've lived together kind of in this bachelor's paradise out at the Kilns, a beautiful house in the suburbs of Oxford. It wasn't filmed on location, but that house is pretty similar if you've seen pictures of the Kilns.
I want to go live there.
Yeah,
that's what I thought through the whole movie. It's like, this looks like heaven.
Exactly. And so they have this it doesn't seem like Warney actually does any work. He just kind of follows C.S. Lewis around and makes clips and does a little tippling. But he does kind of become, well, the word would be avuncular, but he does kind of take young Douglas under his wing. Now, in reality, there was another brother. There was Douglas had a brother, David, who was also adopted by C.S. Lewis, I believe, and took a very different course in life afterwards. I don't know quite all the details, but I know that. So Joy Davidman was her parents had been Jewish, and so David Gresham went that route and became a very devout Jew, whereas Douglas Gresham became a very devout Christian. But
it's the names that do it.
I guess Davis and Douglas, maybe.
Douglas is a very interesting style about how he dresses. It doesn't take long. You don't have to watch very many interviews before you realize he's always wearing a turtleneck. It's either white or black.
Yep.
And he wears a huge crucifix as if he were hunting vampires.
Right.
And then he wears khaki pants with knee-high black riding boots. It's a very unusual look. And then he's got this incredibly deep, resonant baritone voice.
Yes, beautiful voice. Yes, it's true.
Absolutely. Wow. So impressive.
I'm so glad y'all pointed that out to me because I watched a little bit.
Yeah.
But according to him, in his interviews, his brother David was schizophrenic, and he was constantly trying to avoid being killed by him as he grew up.
Wow.
and that he loved his brother. But yeah, his brother was institutionalized for a good bit of his adult life, and I believe he committed suicide.
That's very sad. It's a very sad
Yeah,
story.
but they of course wrote him out of the film completely.
Right.
Now we've talked about this in our little discussion group on Voxer, but Shadowlands was actually originally a made-for-television movie, which I've started watching, and they did not write David out of the TV movie version of it. He's in there. Both boys are in there, and the made-for-TV version is a really dramatic departure because they're not movie stars. You know, the guy playing C.S. Lewis just looks like a grumpy old professor with a deep voice. Yeah. And she looks just like your very, very average middle-aged woman from New York. And I have a feeling that's probably a lot more accurate than what we got in the motion picture because, you know, Anthony Hopkins and Debra Winger, they're movie stars. You know, there's nothing that odd about them falling in love, even though there's an age difference. But in the made-for-TV version, you know, the age difference is dramatic because they're such average-looking people.
Right.
Or that's what one of the things that occurred to me.
The television show just showed why they fell in love with each other.
Yes.
In a way that the movie doesn't. That in the movie you just sort of take for granted that they are falling in love with each other, but it's sort of like, how did that, you know, you kind of see vague undertones of it, but it's just obvious why they are falling for each other, and that it's kind of there beforehand too, even though not quite. You know, I loved, it was also less, with the exception of the very final scene, it was far less sort of melodramatic or overly dramatic.
Right.
In ways that I appreciated. I loved
there's a character in the movie, and I don't know if he was in the made-for-TV movie or not, but it's, I think, a very important subplot about a student named Whistler.
Right.
And I don't know how much attention you paid to the subplot with Whistler, but Whistler, of course, is coming to his tutorials and falling asleep during them. And Lewis, at some point, spots him stealing books at a bookstore where he's doing a book signing. Yeah. And he knows that Lewis saw him stealing books. And Lewis drops by his quarters by where he lives to visit with Whistler. And Whistler explains to him, yeah, I've stolen almost all these books in here. He said, because I just can't help myself. And Whistler talks about how much he loves reading, so much that when he starts a new book, his hands are trembling. He's so excited. And you can tell that Lewis really admires the fact that this young man loves literature as much as he does and wants to help him. And he offers to loan him money, which Whistler turns down. And then later in the film, you realize that time has passed because Whistler, he encounters Whistler on a train, and Whistler's all grown up now and has become a school teacher, and a very good one, according to himself. And, you know, I did some research into it. There is no real life version of Whistler. He's an amalgamation of multiple students that C.S. Lewis extended financial help to over the years. And in some cases, you know, he saw a return on his investment, and in some cases he did not. But he gave away almost all of his earnings. He gave away almost all of his money, both to the church, but also, you know, just the people he knew that were in need, you know. And so he did not have a head for numbers. You know, he was on the verge of bankruptcy, or thought he was, but turns out he had a lot of money, actually. And they were able to go on vacations together after they realized they were in love. And so he did a lot of traveling he wouldn't have done otherwise if it hadn't been for Joy. She really wanted to get out and experience the world and not just live in with her nose in a book.
Right. Yes. So Lewis at the beginning of this movie is living, I mean, it's not a bad life. It's a good life. It's comfortable. He has meaningful work, you know, and he's a public figure. People come to see him. Big crowds of people want to hear him talk. But it's very kind of constrained, right? And after he marries Joy, well, he technically marries her so she can stay in the country. And after she gets diagnosed with cancer, now this is interesting, what you say about the TV movies showing why they fall in love, because it's true. In this movie, there's not a lot of what it is about her that he finds so fascinating. I mean, she's Debra Winger.
Right.
She's interesting, right? So there's a lot of things that one might be attracted to about her, but you don't really see like what the connection is. But okay, they do have a connection, and when she is in need, she is like he goes. I think he goes to visit her at her place in London, and he wants to be a real husband to her, right? And his friends, including the J.R.R. Tolkien substitute in this movie, advise him against it, right? And they made Tolkien an atheist in this, although he's not named Tolkien, but you know who we're talking about. And and he's like, yeah, don't do that. And he's, but you can't tell C.S. Lewis what to do in this movie. And so they have a second wedding for everyone in the church, right? They had gotten married at the at a justice of the peace, as we say in America, right? Yeah. And that is a great scene, right? They get married and they come out, it's raining, and Warney's there as the witness. He's like, well, I got to get back to Oxford to teach a class. See ya.
Yeah, Warner takes her out for a drink afterwards.
Warner takes her out for a drink.
Well, they go to a bar to have drinks.
Yeah, so he's like, look, that's just how my brother is.
One of my very favorite lines is after that, Debra Winger's character says, well, if everybody thinks we're up to no good and not married, and in fact, we're married and not up to
anything. That's right. That is great. Yes. Right. But then something does happen. Well, I mean, he invites them to spend Christmas at his house, and he starts to, he has this connection with Douglas about his books and about, having a troubled upbringing and all that. And they do fall. So they get married, and she's in the hospital, right? So she's like almost immediately in the hospital. And, I don't know what the 1950s medical technology that they're using on her is, but she goes into remission for a pretty extended period of time. And they have this kind of, sort of a springtime, right? Everything just like comes to life, right? A honeymoon. Yes, a honeymoon.
I mean, literal, but also the figurative.
Exactly. Yeah. And they go on this lovely trip out to Herefordshire, as he says, which I think he had this vague memory of it. And it's like, I mean, England is the size of North Carolina. It's probably like a 20-minute drive down the road. They go there and they stay in an inn. They drive around and see these cows. And it's like, it's what you imagine, the English countryside is like. It's just so idyllic. And he tries a cocktail. It's like
that's a great scene too, when she's ordering asking to order.
Right.
What?
I'll have a gin and tonic. Yeah, he's like, that's right. I guess make it two. But yeah, I mean, she really teaches him a lot about, and so when they have, okay, all right, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but as things are coming to me, there is the scene right after they've gotten married and they're moving her into his house. And he has these two beds that he's pushed together in the room that he's lived in as a bachelor forever. And there's like nothing on the walls. It's
it's really Spartan.
Very Spartan. And she's in the bed and she's like, I want to know what you do in here normally. What would you normally be doing? And he's like, well, I put on my pajamas and I clean my teeth and I wash. And
then he keeps under the pillow.
Yeah, then he keeps his pajamas under the pillow and he kneels at the side of the bed and says his prayers, and she says, just like a little boy. And it's just so sweet.
That scene and the proposal, which she forces him to do, are the two romantic scenes. Until he proposes, it doesn't seem clear why they would be together, and suddenly her spark and his become clear in both of those scenes.
So,
well, I have a question for you guys. So, I've read multiple people say that they get the impression by the end of the film that Lewis has lost his faith.
Right.
I did not get that impression from the film.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, the reason that I even thought about this was because I saw an interview with Douglas Gresham where he said that a lot of people misinterpret the end of the film and maybe they didn't communicate it very well, but Lewis did not lose his faith when Joy died.
Right.
In real life, he did not lose his faith. But was that the impression you got from the film or not? Because I remember he talked to the little boy, Douglas, and the little boy says, I don't know what to do. I don't believe in Jesus or God like you do. And he said, well, that's okay. Yeah. Which I really thought was great, because you can have a variety of responses to I don't believe in God from, a God-fearing step parent, but saying,
I
that's
do,
okay.
but that's okay. No, I very much did not think he lost his faith at all.
No.
It was more that it transformed, that he understood it in a new and more, mature,
more personal way.
That he thought about a new angle of it. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things that she says during the movie that I thought was really profound was, the pain that you've got to look forward to when I die is part of the joy that we're having now.
Right.
That's the deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it does not matter how any romance goes. Mm-hmm. Somebody eventually is going to wind up hurting because one of you is going to die before the other one. If you don't split up first, in an acrimonious, divorce like, mine. But yeah, if you stay together, one of you is going to precede the other one in death. And it doesn't matter. You're signing up for pain later on down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's worth it. Yeah.
So well said, Randy. Yeah. And well said, Debra Winger playing Joy.
Yeah, she was great. That's the deal was what she said in the movie, and Hopkins replies to her, yeah, that's the deal.
Yeah.
But I thought that was just really lovely. And the most profound thing I thought in the movie too was they asked him while his wife was suffering, one of his friends, it might have been the guy you were talking about earlier, how do you keep praying during all of this? And Lewis responds, I can't help but pray. I pray constantly because I'm overwhelmed, and it's the only thing that I know to do. And prayer doesn't change God, it changes me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous. I think everybody knows that. Prayer and meditation is part of the program. And, when I got that realization that prayer's more to change me than it is to change God, it was like, whoo, head exploding moment, light bulbs going off. Like, wow, I never thought about that. Like the moment I realized that I didn't have to give up control of other people. I only had to give up the illusion of control of other people because I never had any control to begin with. But yeah, that was pretty powerful. I thought, prayer changes me, not God.
Yeah. I found that powerful too.
Yes. There's a couple of points where either his Tolkien stand-in friend or the whoever the priest character is, there's a priest who's like part of his little circle, will say something theological to C.S. Lewis, and it kind of sets him off, and he gives a little speech like the one you just said about prayer, and I forget what the other one was, but it's like no one's going to tell C.S. Lewis about theology, even the dean of the cathedral. He's going to be like,
exactly,
except Joy.
Right, Joy.
Right. Yeah, she had such utter confidence in the face of a man who'd basically put himself in a situation that she complained about it. Mm-hmm. He put himself in a situation where no one could challenge him ever.
Mm-hmm.
And she would quote back to him what he had said in a sarcastic tone and then show him the way.
Right.
Great.
Yes. Well, what does he say when they first meet? He says, "We've only just met and already you see right through me."
Yeah.
Because he says, I'm a very private person. And she says, that's why you write all those books and give all those big speeches.
Well, he had an overwhelming amount of correspondence, and he responded to every letter. Although if it wasn't too serious, Warner would respond for him. But Warner acted as his secretary and helped him deal with the voluminous amount of correspondence that he got.
Interesting. We've got some comments from Stack of Our Own. Also, I love the interaction after he gets married. I'll move out. Do you want to? No. Oh, okay, stay. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, that's right. So talking about Warney. So Warney's like, look, we don't have to talk about it. I'll move out. You just got married. And C.S. Lewis says, no, you don't have to do that. Right.
Warren struck me as like a classic English gentleman, like almost like Dr. John Watson. Like if I needed to give somebody a gun and accompany me to a crime scene, I couldn't think of someone much better than Warney.
Right. Well, and both veterans, yeah, sure.
Right.
And he too lost his mother. I mean, he was a little older, but he was a perfect, secondary parent afterwards. I think to
he was a really
raised with two brothers. With both the parallels there of two brothers who lost their mom.
Apparently Warner was a really talented writer too, and he wrote a memoir about him and C.S. Lewis. It's out of print now, and it's not on Kindle. So I'm trying to find a copy of it, but that's under $75. But
right.
It'll turn up. Steve will probably find it at the Brattle for me eventually. So
I hope he does.
Let him know.
I'm hoping.
Stack of My Own is asking about the payoff with the young student. Yes, that's Whistler who we're talking about. Yeah. He forgets the young man's father. Yes, that's right. Whistler tells Lewis, my dad always said, we read to know we're not alone. And then Lewis quotes that back to him years later. Yeah, that's right. Libra says, I saw Shadowlands in the theater, but I don't remember anything about it. Maybe when Emerald Fennell, the director of Wuthering Heights, remakes that. Well, I don't think that this is going to be remade by Emerald Fennell. I haven't seen the new Wuthering Heights. I doubt I will. I don't know.
However, it is being reproduced. So after the television show, it became a play, which played on Broadway, etc. Right. And it's being made into it's being staged again with I've forgotten his name, the guy who was the father in Downton Abbey.
Okay. I love that guy.
And it's like close to being out. I think it's going to be
fantastic. Hugh Bonneville, that was his name.
Hugh Bonneville.
Yeah. And so they're making another Shadowlands.
Yeah, it's on stage. It's not a play.
That's marvelous.
Yep.
I would love to see that.
I know that my son is going to England soon and always goes to lots of theater while he's there, and I'm trying to decide whether to suggest this or not for him. I'm not sure.
Tell him, look, I read those Narnia books for you.
Exactly.
Play for me.
Yeah, go through the pain of it.
That's right. That's the deal. Tolkien is the Scott Glenn from Irving. You're over my head with these references, Libra. I don't know. You hate gin and tonic. I panicked. Yes. See, exactly. This movie is funnier than you think it is. I'm glad he didn't try to exaggerate to impress her about his night routine. Well, after 100 sit-ups.
The Dude Bro version.
Yes, the Dude Bro version of Shadowlands. Well, see, okay, because then she'd say, well, I'm right here. Let me see you do them. Final thought from me. Shadowlands costs a mob movie. It's truly a great title. Yeah, it feels like a mob movie title. Yes, it does. But it's a reference and it's like a view of the unenlightened world, right? And Douglas Gresham uses this phrase as well for like leaving a kind of the experience that Randy told about him going to the church and praying for his mother and being in the presence of God and then leaving, and he was going back into the Shadowlands, is what Douglas Gresham says in this interview. Now, I have a feeling that this is a very well-rehearsed anecdote that he's telling, and he's working that in there. But I mean, that obviously comes from Lewis, and the Shadowlands is like the kind of work-a-day world that we spend most of our time in. If I'm not mistaken, what do you think about the title of this? It is a great title, very evocative.
Yeah.
So, yes, Superman saw right through Lois Lane on their first date. Well, Superman did not see through everything because he couldn't see through some of the material in her underwear, if I remember that scene right from the Christopher Reeve movie.
Or what was in her brain.
That's right. Yes.
Christopher Reeve was Superman.
I learned a form of prayer that utilizes the Sufi vocabulary for aspects of God. They stress that asking God for these things to show up in your life also cultivates them within you. Lovely. Well, okay.
Yeah. My brother, who introduced me to C.S. Lewis, is Sufi. So I'll have to ask him if he sees any parallels.
Very interesting. Okay. The actor who played Warney did play Watson in the Sherlock Holmes series with Jeremy Brett. Okay, there you go.
Oh,
wow.
So, yeah.
I should be a great Watson.
And then a musical, The Story of C.S. Lewis, featuring the music of Huey Lewis. I don't know how well that would do. I don't know.
Brought to you by the magic of AI.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, and the stack of mine wants to know if any of us have had Turkish delight. Yes, I have had Turkish delight. I've had actual Turkish delight, like from Turkey, and I've had the English version. Comes in a little packet covered in chocolate. That
And I've had both too.
Yeah,
I've not.
Oh, come on, Randy.
We'll send you some Turkish delight.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds good. I love fruitcake.
I mean, it's
best fruitcake in the country is from the Collins Street Bakery in Corsicana, Texas, which is good 2-3 hours south of me.
You're not lying about that. That is a great fruitcake.
It really is.
I send one to my dad every year.
Fruitcake is absolutely delicious.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not for anyone. For everyone. But if you're gonna like one, Hannah, it'll be the Collins Street Bakery fruitcake because it's very good.
Oh,
one of my grandmothers made friendship cake instead.
Okay.
That had less of the dried the maraschino cherry green stuff, etc.
Yeah.
And I liked that, which was related to fruitcake.
So friendship cake, is that like a cake that with like a starter that you pass on, like that kind of a cake? Okay.
Yes. Yep, but then you add nuts and dried fruits and stuff to it. So it's got a sort of fruitcakey thing, but it's not as sweet and doesn't.
It's a very sweet bread, but but not quite the dense.
Right.
You could construct a building out of Collins Street Bakery fruitcakes, though.
And it would be delicious.
The maraschino cherry stuff that I can't stand. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I love maraschino cherries. I used to drink Manhattans when I was drinking before I switched to Jack and on the rocks, and Manhattans was my drink, and I just loved they put a cherry in it.
Yeah.
And I had one bartender at the bar that I was regular at who would put a little cherry juice in there too, make the drink even sweeter. But then I read somewhere that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So I switched to Jack Daniels on the rocks, saved the bartender a lot of trouble. And I honestly enjoyed that just as much as the Manhattans, or just as little, depending on the evening.
Yeah.
Well, as I learned from Roger Ebert's autobiography, eventually every heavy drinker just switches to vodka. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's a great book, by the way. Ebert's autobiography is terrific. The movie was good too.
Yeah,
I haven't read it. We're seeing it.
It's a fantastic autobiography. Yeah,
I'll look that up.
I read his column religiously on the internet for years before he died, and I also would always buy his movie yearbook, and in those he published 3 volumes, maybe even 4 volumes of the great movies, which are just essays that he wrote about great movies. But the best thing he did, and we've talked about it on here before, was his audio commentary for Casablanca.
Oh, which I need to see.
Yeah, it's really terrific. I got the Blu-ray, the special edition Blu-ray for my birthday a few years ago from a dear friend. And the special edition came with coasters and the coasters are branded as if they're from the places in the movie. So there's a coaster from Rick's Cafe, and then there's a coaster from the Blue Parrot, and then there's a poster from whatever bar it is they're hanging out in France in the prequel.
Great.
And I use those coasters still.
It's fantastic.
I use them as coasters. But yeah, it is terrific.
So Constance Campbell wants to know, does friendship cake ferment? And yes.
In the same way that sourdough bread does. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I think it was a coworker of my wife gave her a starter around Christmas time. And I made some, and it was quite tasty. Yeah, that's right. I passed it on to one of my neighbors down the street. It makes a very nice cake. It's quite sweet though, but yeah. What's everybody reading? I just finished Beloved by Toni Morrison, and Will There Ever Be Another You by Patricia Lockhart. Okay, and now King's Sorrow. Okay, well, Randy and I know what we're reading.
Well, seeing the Toni Morrison, oh my.
Isn't that beautiful? Terrific.
Reading the stand.
I feel left out. But
yes, I am in the middle of the
Toni Morrison
stand
on it. Her? Is that her? I don't know Stuck in My Own. My apologies if you're not. Toni Morrison has a new book. It's not a new book, but a book that's just been published of essays that she wrote about classic fiction, including a lot of Southern fiction. So I'm really excited to read that. And then there's a new study of her coming out next week, maybe. So Toni Morrison is definitely on my list this month.
Yes,
I've read Sula. I took a class when I was in college. I was Machiavellian in my pursuit of women. I took contemporary women's fiction because I knew that's
where the women will be. So.
That's
absolutely.
That's very funny.
Yes, and I was also
you're going to get the right women there too.
Students for Choice. If you want to talk about being surrounded by women, very small minority of men in Students for Choice. Yeah. And I was one of the only groups I was best looking man in. But yeah, that's when I was introduced to Toni Morrison. It was in contemporary women's fiction. We read Sula, and we read Woman on the Edge of Time by Marge Piercy. And we read The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood.
Okay.
It was a great class.
That's a great collection of books. Blue Skies is also great and really short. So if you're looking for another Toni Morrison at any point, it's a good lead in to Beloved. Beloved is intense.
Yes, indeed. My favorite of hers that I've read was Song of Solomon.
Yeah, it's great too. It was the most recent that I read, I think. I mean, it's been a long time now, but somehow I missed that one beforehand.
Yeah. Stack of My Own is Will There Ever Be Another You? Is that Patricia Lockhart, the Twitter poet who wrote Priest Daddy? Because I've read Priest Daddy, and that was pretty good. And I was not a big fan of the novel that she wrote after it, the name of which I don't remember. But let me know. I did. So I'm curious about that. The Stand will be the end of James. Libro, you say that you haven't heard my rants in Randy's Voxer group complaining about The Stand and how it's driving me crazy. it might well be the end of me. I'm let's see, can you see? I'm a little bit past halfway, and I've gotten to and I've just finished the chapter with the kid in it. Now, the kid, I have not read this book before. I'm not a Stephen King guy, but a friend of mine from high school, when he was reading it, he read out loud to me the sections with the kid, and they were pretty hilarious. Hannah, I'm sure you're familiar with the kid from the Stand. No, okay, yeah, this is
not a Stephen King fan.
Well, the only King I've read is the story that's sort of a rewrite of Flannery O'Connor.
Wasn't that great?
The name of it. Say it again.
I thought it was terrific.
Yeah, it was really fascinating to read them in comparison. I knew beforehand that it was supposed to be, I mean, that's why I read it. But the idea
Right.
that someone could read it and not know, and then like, oh my God, it'd be easy to sort of realize that as you're reading.
I realized it about halfway through.
Cool.
I was like,
That's,
wait a minute.
I wish I had not known. And then he gives a little nod at the end.
Yeah. And I was like, at the end, I was like, I was right.
I still
Well, let
think
me make a recommendation, Hannah. Stephen King wrote a novel called 11/22/63. And it's about a character who's found a way to travel back in time, but he can only travel back to a specific time. It's a specific date and time. But he tries to go back in time to prevent the assassination of JFK.
Wow.
And he has to make multiple attempts. And it takes him back to 1958. So every time he goes back in time, he has to live through 1958 until 1963.
Oh my God.
Wow.
To get a chance to try. But anyway, there's a romance plot to it. He falls in love with an English teacher in the past. And it's wonderful, just wonderful.
Now that sounds
my
more up my
favorite
alley
King
than most King sounds like.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I think it's his best work, but admittedly, I haven't read everything Stephen King, but I've read about half of his books. It's really, I think, head and shoulders above the rest of his work.
Now that sounds like a great story, Randy, but unfortunately, like most of his great stories that he thinks up, he has to go and write them.
Right. Well, you know what? In this one too, he nails the ending. The big complaint you always hear about Stephen King is he can't write endings, and he nailed the ending to this one.
All right.
And is it long like that, or is it?
It is long. It's not insanely long like The Stand, but I mean it's probably a good 400 pages.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, Randy.
Yeah,
it's
under 500. I don't even think of it as
It's
long.
800 pages.
Is it?
It's 800 pages.
I think The Stand is 800 pages.
The Stand, my copy of The Stand is 1,300 pages.
Is it? Wow. It's a long book. Who talked you into reading that?
You could even read Tolstoy instead.
The funny thing is, I'm also reading Wanderers by Chuck Wendick, which is another post-apocalyptic book. And it's funny because they always seem to settle on the number of when it's a disease or something like that. It kills 99% of everybody. In The Stand, it's 99.4%.
Yeah, 0.4.
Yeah, and so that still leaves a lot of people. They're just really spread out in the United States. But you take 300 million people, 1% of that is 3 million. Half that's 1.5 million. That's still 1.5 million people. Yeah. I don't get the impression from the book that there's that many people hanging around in the United States, though. No. I get the feeling there's just like a handful of people.
Well, with everyone, after everyone dies from the plague, a lot of them die from just everything being broken down, the whole society being broken down. Yeah. So,
well, that's the other thing I've been reading is all about for Historathon. I haven't even made my video yet, but for Historathon, I'm thinking I'm going to have sort of themes. And one of the themes is pandemics across history. And so I just read Pax Romana.
Okay, sure.
Aside from laughing at the title, it's quite interesting. It's talking about how the devastation from the pandemic of the day also led to the start of Christianity, which is quite interesting.
Interesting.
That does sound interesting.
It's not a perfect book, but it's
so
I have a book about the.
Go ahead. Randy.
I have a book about the pandemic of 1918, and it's real interesting. I read a novel, and then I had the nonfiction book too, and I was reading it during the pandemic. But one of the things that was remarkable was that our reactions to it in 1918 were pretty much the same as our reactions to it in 2020. They were even arguing about whether or not to wear masks.
Yeah.
Right.
In 1918, even that. But the one thing that was different in 1918 was, in the 19th century, in the 1800s, you could become a doctor just by apprenticing yourself to another doctor, and he could just sign off on you being a doctor. And there were doctors who had come up that way, and some of them were desperate enough that even though they knew it didn't work anymore, they tried bleeding their patients.
Sure.
Because, nothing else was working. So they thought, well, we'll try the old ways. And of course that didn't work either, but
yeah.
But it was interesting learning about what it took to become a doctor in the 1800s. And it was really easy to become a doctor. It's really easy to get your MD. I think
You're the only other person I've
fail
heard.
something like 40% of your classes if you went to school, even if you went that route.
Wow.
And you didn't have that many classes to take either.
You're the only person I've heard that read about 1918 during the pandemic, the first weeks of the pandemic, because I read everything that I could get my hands on. That just was my way of dealing with, what was happening. Is like, read about what happened in the past.
Right.
I bought a copy of The Stand to read during the pandemic, but I didn't read it.
Yeah, it was too much.
Around. Mm-hmm. That's funny.
King said and points out that in the context of this book, that there was no flu before the 1918 influenza epidemic. We think it's always been here, but 100 years ago, from their standpoint, it didn't exist. It wasn't.
I didn't realize that. I'd forgotten.
No, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
Constance Campbell says, I read my first Victoria Holt recently, better than I expected. Do not know Victoria Holt. Currently reading Spring Snow by Mishima. Slow going is very beautifully written. I mean,
I've heard good things about that.
People like that. Yeah, I'm not that into Mishima, but Stackminer says, yes, I didn't love this one. It's a bit too. Well, it's about COVID brain fog, and it was almost like a bunch of Twitter. Oh, okay, you're talking about the Patricia Lockwood book. Okay. Almost like a bunch of Twitter posts. I had a few chuckles, but it went on too long. Tuned out by the end of it. That was my experience of, I'm going to remember the name of it. No one is talking about this. That was her first novel, which basically was like a bunch of Twitter posts. And then in the middle of it had like a terminal illness out of nowhere. It was kind of like, I don't know.
She writes a lot of book reviews that I find quite interesting.
She's a good writer. I mean, she's very interesting to read, but I mean, yeah, not all it is for me. Let's see. I'm reading Strangers in Paradise by my favorite Texas writer and cartoonist, Terry Moore. Okay. Randy, do you know Terry Moore?
No.
Everyone in Texas is supposed to know each other.
I've heard the name.
It's a small state. 1,300 pages of King. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. King of the Hill.
King of the Hill. Yes, that's right. Anyone seen Spies Like Us? Right. Okay. Yes. Spies Like Us, this classic 80s film with, is it Chevy Chase and
Walter Matthau, maybe?
I don't think it's Walter Matthau.
Jerry Reed's in it, I remember. Robin Williams, maybe?
No,
Steve Martin.
No.
Spies Like Us.
It's
Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd, yes. Yes, and they're pretending to be doctors, and they're introducing themselves to each other as doctor.
And I never saw it.
Yeah.
But when my husband and I were dating when he was in med school, and at graduation for his class, everyone was going around shaking hands, going, "Doctor, doctor."
Yes.
It was part of the zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah. You get such things will happen. Yeah. Dan Aykroyd. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so. Well, doctors.
Yes, no one did it when I got my PhD. We were all doctors too.
It's not quite the same kind of joke,
No.
but I mean, we are real doctors, they're medical doctors are they just came up with that, and dentists call themselves doctors, and that's come on.
Yeah.
My ex-wife has a PhD.
So you're affiliated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just sitting around with my bachelor's degree.
My father had wildly, so he's the eldest of 6, and none of the rest. His parents, I think his father made it through 3rd grade and his mother through 8th grade. And none of his younger siblings graduated from college. And he wound up with 2 PhDs. Oh. Crazy. One in history and one in folklore.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
And so we were living in a little tiny town in North Carolina where I was born. My whole family's from South Carolina, but I was born in North Carolina. And I had broken my arm, and we went to the hospital, and there was a big sign that said "For doctors only." My dad, I thought I'm one of the only people who could really park there. He was the doctor's.
Well, it's dead. The sign's dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, because he wasn't just a doctor; he was doctors. Because
exactly.
Yes, I get it. All right, great, great. All right. So, any closing thoughts on Shadowlands? It's been yeah. Go ahead, Randy.
I'll let you go ahead, Hannah.
Okay, Hannah, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say it's really emotional, and I'm glad I watched it, and I'm glad I'm not watching it anymore. So.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an emotional film. The scene where he's trying to comfort the little boy, and he starts crying.
Yeah.
That broke me. Yeah. It caused the waterworks over here. I tend to cry during movies anyway. My kids like to make fun of me for it, but as I've told them multiple times, it's really good that your father's in touch with his feelings.
That's right. Yes.
I fired a therapist one time who said I wasn't in touch with my feelings. And I thought that's what she's come away from these conversations thinking, that I'm not in touch with my feelings. She hadn't been paying attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, great. That's a great movie. Especially if you're a C.S. Lewis fan. But if you're not a C.S. Lewis fan, I think it will make you want to explore his world a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
You may not want to stay, but you probably want to visit.
Yeah. That was the case for me. So yeah, definitely. Stack of My Own wants to know any plans for what the next watch is. I don't know. I think
The Apartment, Billy Wilder.
That's a good choice.
Just throwing something out there, just off the top of my head.
I was thinking today maybe we should do Some Like It Hot. But
there you go. Sunset Boulevard. Anything Billy Wilder, I'm down for.
1, 2, 3. Have you ever seen 1, 2, 3? Is Cold War era movie? That's pretty good. Yeah, we'll probably settle on a Billy Wilder movie. Maybe The Apartment. That's a great.
Yeah, that's great. I love finding other Billy Wilder fans.
Pre-1982.
That's right. We got to get back to pre-1982.
Yeah, we need to get back to real classics, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
I know. Hannah's been leading us astray. She's like, come on, guys, loosen up.
The second two were not even my ideas.
Randy and I have been like living together like Jack and Warney, stuck in our ways, drinking scotch off the sideboard, having toasted tea cakes. You know, we don't need to go out and see
so much butter that it just runs down your arm. When he was telling the little boy. That was a great scene, great moment.
That's right. Patricia H says The Apartment is a Christmas movie. Okay, you might be right. Well,
put it on your calendar.
The Apartment is kind of a Christmas movie. It's one of the only comedies to ever win Best Picture.
Oh, interesting.
I
don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, it's fantastic. Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine and Fred MacMurray.
Probably introduced the term "be a mensch" into the common parlance.
Very likely.
Oh well, I'll have to watch it. I'll put it off till.
The Apartment is a real treat.
Yeah. But anyway, so Randy and I will get together, put our heads together. We'll meet in the faculty lounge and decide what's going to be next. And we'll see. I've been trying to reach out to people to see who wants to be a guest, and I don't know. They're
if anyone wants to be a guest, all you have to do is contact me or James.
That's right. Libra's
been we're easy
Miguel
to find.
From Libro Paradiso has been a guest. He's done a great job. Patricia H, you're a first-rate commenter. If you want to be a guest, that'd be fun. So let us know.
I'd love to see some of the commenters come and
Dallas
Yeah.
would be a great guest. He hasn't launched his YouTube channel yet, but we've got something to look forward to when he does. I think Dallas is watching. He's
from
commented
the
on one of my channels.
from the Voxer channel.
Yeah, that's the same Dallas. Yeah.
Okay,
I think he's going to launch his YouTube channel next week. I've been encouraging him. So
yeah, he should. I know Stack of My Own, if you have a channel or not. Oh, Stack of My Own is Dallas. Okay. Yeah. We'll get in touch. It's fun. Do it, says Libro. Okay, see, I'm reading these off. And Stack of My Own is Dallas.
So Dallas, are you going to start your channel under the name that you're posting under now? The Stack of My Own? Can I just follow this and subscribe to you? That's the one problem.
That's the one. Yes, he's.
Well, thank you so much for having me for this trilogy of videos. This has just been really wonderful.
It's been so great. We'll have you back for a month next year.
Okay.
And maybe 2 months next year.
Yes, that's right. And we'll do Hannibal and Remains of the Day, and let's see what's and The Age of Innocence. So
oh yes, totally.
Yes.
Yeah,
another
maybe
series of romance that aren't
Let's
romances.
do Remains of the Day and Age of Innocence and or House of Mirth, or one of those.
And The Quiet American.
And The Quiet American. Okay, oh, that's interesting.
Great film.
I love the book and I don't know the film, so I would love to. I mean, I did watch it very briefly, but I would love to think about it more. Yeah,
I haven't seen the original black and white film, but the one with Michael Caine and Brendan Fraser I've seen multiple times, and it's really marvelous. And of course, it's a great book.
So that'll give us one Michael Caine, one Anthony Hopkins.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll find the third.
We've got Cecil Day-Lewis's kid. What's his name is in the other one?
Daniel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Age of Innocence is excellent. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody, great job. Thank you for joining us.
Much.
What a great audience we've had. We've had really good audiences the last few times, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to say good night to everyone, and we'll see you next time when we'll discuss